when we model for our children how to live life in a different way, we're showing them firsthand how to think out of the box, how that you can do things differently, that you don't just have to follow the formula. For us, that's what it's about too. It's as much as we love all of the things that we do personally, it's also about showing that way of living for our kids so that they know, like our kids do not doubt about living life differently, right? They know because they've seen it. They've seen it firsthand.
There's only one thing in between what you have and what you want most. You ready for this? You have to become a person who will do those things. You have to want the thing so desperately that you also want to change your behavior, that you have to want to change yourself.
Well, and sometimes it's even the simplicity of having to do the work and sometimes being overwhelmed with that work. Because like we're saying, achieving a big dream and goal is work. And that can often be very overwhelming. Just this week, I've been overwhelmed with the amount of work. But we have to learn how to face and push through that overwhelm, push through the challenges, find strategies for managing it so that we can keep moving forward and instead of giving up on our dream, actually achieve it. Because, I mean, I think that that's just a natural part of it all. No matter what life you're living, whether you're pursuing your dream life or just living your normal life, you're going to face challenges. You're going to face obstacles. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to feel discouraged. Like that's just the human experience. But the difference is you can do that while living your normal life, or you can do it while chasing your dream life. It's your choice. So the self-sabotage is when we give up on pursuing the dream life because we think, oh, it's too hard, thinking that living a normal life is going to save us from that. It's not. Either way, I mean, we've said this so many times and we've taught it how it doesn't matter which life you choose to live. There's going to be difficulties you have to face. But the long-term outcome is which path you're on. So if you choose to be on the path that leads to certain results, you push through those obstacles and you reach those goals, as opposed to if you give up and try to go back to what you think is the easier path, you're still going to have obstacles. You're still going to have things that break down, and you're going to have kids that make poor decisions, and you're going to have all these other things. It just doesn't produce the results you want. That's the irony. Like either way, you're facing those things in life. Just which path are you going to be on?
Like we focus on ourselves, so that you guys always hear us say this: be the tide in your family. You be the tide. Take that responsibility. Take the ownership. You be the tide that comes in and lifts all the boats in your family.
Well, and the important thing about being the tide and this focus here is really all you can do is focus on changing yourself. You cannot change anyone else. You can only change yourself. But being the tide it in no way has anything to do with forcing or making other people do something. The tide just is the tide. And it's just being itself. It's rising. And as it rises, it brings in everything else with it. It's not like this thing you're doing to the boats. You're not like, come on, boat. You're just rising and they're rising with you. So it's completely about, and this seems weird sometimes, but it is really about you. It's all about you. You are the tide. You are the foundation. When you focus on changing yourself, that's the only thing you can do, but that is what has the most impact on those around you, because when they see that you are a different person, that then inspires them to want to change themselves, because that's all they can do is to change themselves. Inspired by your own change. What's that quote by Marianne Williamson? When you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people the permission to do the same. That's what you're doing. You're letting your light shine. You're releasing your own greatness, and it inspires others to want to become great as well. And I think that if there's one thing, and I don't always know how, but if there's one thing we have done well raising our kids, it's inspiring their own greatness by not being great, but by pursuing our own greatness. Like our kids want to do great things of their own accord because they've watched us pursue great things ourselves. It's not something that we've said or told them they had to do per se, but they've just seen it happen. Like we're the tide and they're just used to that. And they don't, in some ways, they don't know anything different. They don't know another way to live except to live at that standard. Our two boys are in Florida right now, 18 and 20. And they're surrounded by normal young men. They can't stand it. They're like, we get up, we exercise, we work out, we go to the gym, we come back, they're still in bed.
We're reading,
we're studying, we're doing, and then they get up, they're just like, I don't get it. What are they doing with their lives? You know, they're just used to living here because they just don't know any different. But not because we forced them and we made them. That's just where we live. We live here. Now they acknowledge, and this is true with everyone, it's easier to do that when you're surrounded by the people that are doing it. It is. But at some point, you have to become that person. If it's not happening, you have to be the person that's doing it to help others be able to live at that standard. And this is something that I have learned is crucial, at least for me, specifically for me. It's essentially learning to manage and recover from overwhelm. And maybe this is a primarily woman thing. I don't know, because I know you have your own different strategies. But if I don't learn how to predict, prevent, or recover from overwhelm, I literally will be crushed and cannot accomplish my goals and dreams. Because first of all, we have to understand overwhelm is going to happen, especially if you're pursuing big dreams. You will get overwhelmed. If you don't, you're not pursuing big enough dreams. So it's not a matter of like, oh, just don't do things that overwhelm me. I mean, you could do that, but then you actually don't grow and you don't achieve big things. If you pursue big things at some point, and it may be simply like it's a certain time of the month, maybe that simple, you're going to feel overwhelmed by what you're doing, by what you're taking on. So you have to learn how to prevent it if possible, or to simply recover from it, or to manage it in the moment. Like I've had to very intentionally develop those abilities as we take on bigger and bigger and bigger projects. And it's a game changer. Learning how to do that has changed everything for me because for one, it's simply the awareness. Like I know when I think back to my previous self, because compared to where we were taking on challenging things. But at that time, when I didn't have this sort of awareness, I would get into overwhelm and I felt like it meant, well, one, impending doom, right? Overwhelm meant the world's crashing down on me. We're going to die, right? Like some sort of thing like that. Or it felt like we're on the wrong path. We're not supposed to be doing this. Or I don't know, something's wrong with me. Where now I have this context, I have this framework of understanding, so I can recognize what's happening. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going into overwhelm now. Step back. I'm going to focus on managing this. And I'm not going to believe everything I think and feel right now, right? Because that's another part of it. And I'm going to push through. And when I get to the other side, I'll be back at it, ready to go. So having that framework and that awareness and that understanding, and then having the tools to be able to manage it is huge for me, at least, to keep me going on the right path and to not just throw up my hands and give up and say, oh, we can't do this. It's too hard. Because that's not true. I've learned that for me, overwhelm is a temporary state that when I push through it, I can move on the other side, if that makes sense. When we're pursuing dreams, like we talked about, we have to have the energy, we have to have the confidence, we have to have the problem-solving skills. And all of that is affected negatively by poor sleep or a lack of sleep. So that's one of the first things I will look at, because I'm trying to help you get this framework of being able to push forward, being able to get up and keep going when you fall down. And I have learned that when I recognize things for what they are, it helps me to not feel defeatist or defeated or like fatalistic or hopeless. When I can see, oh, I'm feeling like this because I didn't get enough sleep versus I'm feeling like this because I can't achieve my dreams and I'm a failure, right? Those are two different things. So it used to be that I would feel that way more often and think, oh, I can't do it. I'm a failure. We're never going to achieve this. Where now I'm like, wait a second. No, I didn't get good sleep last night. That's why I feel like this. Okay, stop thinking, brain, right? You're just tired. It makes a huge difference for me. I'm able to recover from that where it used to be that I would spiral downward into the depths of despair of like, it's hopeless. We'll never get out of this. Where now I'm like, no, I just need to get some sleep. So at least for me, that's a huge thing. It's a big, big deal for me. So
a lot of you'll literally start noticing positive difference immediately just by getting better sleep.
Yeah, more positivity, more confidence, more motivation just by getting better and more sleep.
Start filling your days with good things, and the things that are holding you back and annoying you will just kind of melt away into the shadows. And it's amazing how it begins to transform your life. So start with these things. Let us know how it goes. Love you guys. Reach out for it.